Let me first introduce my friend Rodney Smith. He is going to start us out with a grounding, and I hope you all enjoy and partake in this. We are about to have an interview. Rodney will ground us, then I will give us some light language, and then we'll go off to the races. Thank you. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Rodney.
Thank you, Kathleen, for inviting me to be here with you today. I'm looking forward to this. I typically use the same process that Ann Tucker uses to ground, and it's to the earth. So if you ground somewhere else, please use your own target for grounding. But if you will, just imagine a root, a thick root emanating from your tailbone and going down through the chair and through the floor and into the earth. And imagine that root growing and continuing down, all the way down, deeper and deeper into the earth. And as it reaches the center of the earth, you'll notice that it sprouts out and anchors itself. And then you'll begin to feel the tautness in that root coming back up the root, up to your spine and into your spine, holding you and anchoring you firmly to the earth. Now, this is the process that I use. It's fairly short. It does a good job of grounding me to the earth. And at that point, Kathleen, go ahead with your light language.
Okay, thank you. It might take a minute or so to bring it forward. Tamiana da te ati eke te pata iskata seniana bakata ete ate ala siketea taati tiana mata gosikete etete tamaniata sa liata kasiketea. Just a little explanation. That light language brings together the energies of love to bring that and assistance into this interview. I want to thank you for listening, whoever happens to find us at any given time. I met Rodney through a Facebook group, started out with Ann Tucker, and then we moved to a group that is a bit smaller, and it's a very loving group and a very wise group, and it's a very safe place for us. So, Rodney, first question is that I would like for you to introduce yourself by telling us what your story is. How did you get here today?
It's been a long road. To start with, I'm 78 years old. The first 75 years of my life, I lived in pretty much blissful ignorance of spiritual things. I was raised in I was from Texas, so I was raised in a Baptist church, a Methodist and Baptist church, and have pretty strong beliefs through my growing up years, as my sister would say. My father was a school teacher and a very religious man. My mother was a hairdresser and a wonderful woman. I had a great childhood. I'm sure there was stuff going on that I don't remember. It's been a long time. So anyway, I traveled through life and through different experiences. I moved from the Baptist church into full gospel churches and the charismatic movements. I got involved with that. I was exposed to people speaking in tongues and doing interpretations and prophecy. So I got that at a fairly early age, probably in my 20s and 30s. And then I got away from religion. I got burnt out basically by all the greed is what I saw. I didn't see when I left organized religion and moved to the charismatic, I did it because I wasn't receiving any teaching. I wasn't growing any at all. And I knew that. And so I moved to somewhere that they were basically just teaching the Bible. And it was really good. I enjoyed that quite a bit. But that movement got to the point where they started developing what they call mega churches. And these pastors, although they had good intents and good leading from the beginning, I'm sure were subverted by greed and money and all the other things that we look at in life and that we all experience to one level or another. So I left that, and I was basically just kind of floating around. Have had a technical background my whole life. I've been a programmer for American Airlines, worked in the reservation system. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been a mechanic. I've been an electrical engineer. I've done design work. I've done a lot of hands-on small stuff. I'm currently interested in 3D printing and electronics. I'm currently living in Mexico. And let me just tell you a little bit about how I got here. I was rocking along, just as they say, fat, dumb, and happy. And I had a house that I was remodeling while living in it. And so I was totally destroying it and living in it at the same time. So basically, I had part of one bedroom that was most of my stuff. And then I had a small closet, which is where my computer was. So my kids always kidded me about you're in the closet. When are you coming out of the closet? And I said, well, that's real funny, but that doesn't apply to me. At any rate, I had come to a point in that process where finances had become a real problem. And so I had stopped. And I was starting to wonder about a lot of things and look around, but I still really hadn't had any kind of spiritual awakening or anything. I fell and broke my hip. And this was during COVID. So I went to the emergency room. They did surgery on me a day or two later and had a rod put in my leg and all that. Recovered from that and was doing pretty good. And as I was exercising past that recovery, I developed quite a bad limp on my right side. And so I went back and the hip doctor said, well, your bone has not healed properly and it's crushing and your right leg's about 3 inches shorter than your left. So that's why you limp. Oh, okay. Well, I went and saw another doc, one that I knew this time. It specializes in hip revisions. Anyway, he did a total hip on me and I recovered from all that. And this was about 3 years ago in the springtime. My son had previously, he and his wife had moved to Mexico. He'd retired. She is in real estate, and so she travels back and forth between Mexico and the States a lot. He was in Mexico, and he had a tear in his shoulder, so he had surgery in Mexico, which is not a big deal. And his wife sent me a ticket and said, I'd appreciate if you could just come down for 3 or 4 weeks and just help your son, make sure he takes care of himself and maybe drive him around because I'm going to be in and out. So it's fine, no problem. So I came down and I stayed 6 weeks and I basically fell in love with this place. I just, as I've aged, I've gotten to where I can't deal with the cold as well as I used to be able to. And Texas at that time had 3 successive, really bad, severe winters. And it was miserable for me. Well, I got here and the temperature was like 70 degrees in the morning, 80, 85 in the evening. Well, the heat doesn't bother me because I'm from Texas. So I decided that I went home and I decided, yeah, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to move. I'm going back to Mexico. And so I had a relatively nice car, which I sold and sold everything that I could, gave away what I couldn't, packed what was left, and moved to Mexico. Stayed with my son for about a year and a half and bought a condo myself and did the finish out inside. So I've been in my condo now for about a year. But this 3 year period that I've been in Mexico, there was a reason. And let me tell you something else about me. I was always one of these guys that basically I lived in my head. I didn't really know what my heart was. I never really had an emotional side or never connected with it properly. So as part of my awakening, I've developed the a really good connection with my heart in a pretty deep emotional situation. However, when I start talking about things emotional, I'll cry. And a lot of people call that just wearing your heart on your sleeve, and I can sit and watch TV shows, and if they come to a really touchy part, so starting to, tear up and all that. So a lot of times when I talk, you'll hear my voice kind of break up, and that's what that's all about. But anyway, I'd gotten very interested in Eckhart Tolle, which is where I started listening to him. And then I got to watching the near death experiences on YouTube and a couple of other YouTube channels. And that's really where my awakening began. About a year into that, so 2 years ago, I found Ann Tucker and just fell in love with her angel messages, joined her Facebook group, and I became one of the higher posters on there. I post a lot. I don't know, and some people tend to think that, well, you must be a really good spiritual leader, or you must really be wise. And well, no, I'm not any of that. I'm just an old country boy from Texas, and that's all. That's really all I am. I have some gifts. I know that I'm a hands-on healer, and I have a gift of channeling, which is not currently operating for me. I'm getting ready to take Michael Sheridan's channeling course to start in August. So that I'm looking forward to that changing my life drastically. I've I know that I have guides. I speak to them every day, and they help me a lot. Not in ways that I can express easily because I never hear anything. I don't get thoughts implanted in my head. I don't hear voices. Just things work out, right? Synchronicities or whatever you want to say. I'm one of those guys who can pull out in traffic and there's always an opening. And I think my guides have a big hand in that. If I need a parking place, there's always one that's right by the door. I'm just very, very, I used to call myself lucky. I think it's more blessed now than lucky, and then probably more synchronicity than anything else. Oh, let's see, where was I going? I had another thought with that, but now it's gone. That happens to my mind sometimes. So, does that give you enough background about kind of who I am or where I came from?
Yes, it was perfect, and I resonate with a lot of that stuff. I was raised Catholic, very active in the Catholic Church, taught uh, religious education classes and did the whole thing. And it was not greed that I noticed, but I became suddenly single, and then I became suddenly a second class person.
Yeah.
I knew that I was not a second class person, so I started searching. And actually, so that was at age 50 that I started searching. And during the 10 years of being suddenly single, I had a lot of stuff happen that I didn't understand. And then at 60, I was introduced to metaphysics. So I'm 77, so I am right there with you. But that going through the 3D life and the religious experience and so forth is, I think it's a good teacher. It gives us a well-roundedness
Mhm.
that that we can identify with other people who are in different situations, and I think that's a gift. I'm one of those people who thinks are a wisdom keeper. So I
You could be
assume
right.
you're, and I'm gonna hang on to that you have a certain amount of wisdom. I'm thrilled to hear about your blossoming gifts.
Mhm.
Because I'll tell you what one of your gifts is. It's your authenticity. And I feel like that's one of our most powerful things is just to be who we are supposed to be, who we are. And the more we find ourselves, the more we dig in and see who we really are, the more we can then begin to love ourselves
Mhm.
um, and find all these different things that we can do. It's my belief that everybody can do everything, but that sometimes we choose, this is not what I want to do, or this is not what I want to do in this lifetime, or so forth. And I can cry at the drop of the hat myself. So I'm right there
Well,
with you. I
that, that's not quite as embarrassing for a woman as it is for a man.
That's what you think.
Yeah. Well, as a man, that's what I thought.
Uh, actually, it's been something for me that's always been,
Mhm.
and I used to just find it so very embarrassing. But crying was not acceptable in my upbringing. And so one of the things I smoked for about 9 years, started when I was 16 and quit. One of the best things I ever did for myself. But that was one of the ways that I could stop myself crying, is take a big drag on a cigarette, and then I could,
Mhm.
I could not. So after I quit in the mid 70s, I had no way to hide it. So I will cry, and it's okay. Right at this point in my life, I'm not embarrassed about it anymore, but I have been there. So,
I
okay.
totally understand.
You make me want to move to Mexico,
Come
first of
on.
all.
It's beautiful.
Uh, but I will be drawn someplace. I do believe it's not a mistake anytime when you're drawn to a
Mhm.
place, when you visit a place and know that it feels like home.
Yeah.
I haven't quite found that, but when I was living in my camper for 16 months, I found that being next to a river was the most peaceful thing for me. Anyway, so now that we've been introduced to your upcoming magical abilities, I want to hear more about that. So, have you already channeled?
No, I have not. I've tried. I've tried to connect several different times, several different methods, and I just assumed. I went through Ann Tucker's Soul Convergence program, both pieces of that and her gift activation, and I never. I'm one of these people that doesn't normally remember dreams. I mean, we all dream all the time, and we just don't. Some of us don't remember. I'm one that don't does not remember dreams very well. During Soul Convergence, probably halfway through the first session, I started having a dream or two periodically. I'd get little segments. And so we went on through that. And then in the second one, I had several. I had one really big release of an emotional problem that I've been carrying. That probably uh, a huge chunk of karma got released over that. And from that point on, I would have longer dreams, but not very often. And I still had no clue about what my gifts were. And so we went through gift activation, and the last two or three sessions within that, the angels working on you pretty intensely to flush out some stuff, and nothing ever really came up for me. So like I had to choose. They have workshops at the end of the sessions, and you can pick either you can pick channeling, or you can pick hands-on healing or remote healing, or I think there was like a spiritual leadership was another gift area, and they do a workshop. It's like 3 or 4 hours long, introduce you to that and tell you about the mechanics of it. Well, I would just didn't have no it didn't have any clue at all. So I decided, okay, I'm going to sign up for the channeling. That's what I'm going to do because I don't know what else to do, and I know I want to be able to do that so I can connect with my guides because I can't currently connect to them or with them. But at any rate, so I had a dream like the last day before you could make a choice as far as these workshops go. And I had a couple of the girls from the Soon Facebook group, Dawn and Dashini and Joy, had looked at my dreams, and they, two of the three of them pointed out right at the top, your hands-on healer, just from what they interpreted from the dream. So I thought, okay, well, I'll switch to workshop. And then in the intervening period, I had a chance to talk through another workshop with Michael Sheridan. And I just gave him a little snippet of the dream. And he said, yeah, that's hands on healing. And so that's what I signed up for. Um, and that's apparently a gift that I have. I've not actually been able to use it because another part of my story, and I'll backtrack just a little bit. When I came to Mexico, I didn't know why I was here. I mean, I've always believed that we have a purpose in life. And my parents instilled that in me probably when I was very, very young. And I've always believed it. And I looked around at my contemporaries, my friends, and thought, okay, now these guys are falling like leaves in the autumn. You know, I'm still left, so there's got to be something that I'm supposed to do that I haven't done yet. So I had this desire, this searching, and when I came to Mexico, here we go again with the tears. I
It's
had
okay.
this, I had this feeling that God sort of talked to me and says, "I got you. You're going to Mexico and you're going to be isolated. You're going to be in a country where you can't speak the language. You won't have a car. You'll be totally isolated. You'll be with family, but they're not going to understand what you're going through. So you're going to be totally isolated." And I'm not what you call a really social person. So I'm a loner, basically, always have been. So that was okay. That seemed really good to me. It sounded excellent, actually. Fell in love with the weather, as I said, and then I'm living by myself now. My wife passed away about 5 years ago with massive cancer and infestation, but that was just the end of her path. You know, I had karma involved with that as well, but that's gone. So that's all healed, and I'm glad with that. So your question was, what are my gifts and where am I going with them? Right now, because of where I am, I don't know how to proceed with hands-on healing. I, if there was somebody here I could talk, there's nobody here that's quote unquote spiritually awake, air quotes awake. I'm sure there are a lot of people here. There's a lot of expats. There's a ton of different communities. I don't know them all. I don't know where they are. I don't know how to get in touch with most of them. I'm sure that if there was a group I could get involved with here, if I was back in the States, I would look for a spiritualist church. That's what I would look for to get involved with. But I can't do that. I couldn't speak the language here, and everybody here is Catholic. So the whole country is predominantly Catholic, which is not surprising. So I'm kind of in a quandary of what do I do with this, So that is something that's coming up for me is I've got to deal with that and develop that and understand how the hands-on healing works. Do I possibly have the ability to do remote healing? I don't know.
Can
Um,
I interject something?
Please do.
Yes, you can do remote healing because there really is no separation.
That's kind of the way I felt.
And I would be willing to volunteer as a guinea pig anytime. We can talk about that off camera, but
That's fine.
I have done it. Um,
I have I've attempted to twice. Once actually was with you the other day. You had a post in the Facebook group. You were having a really bad day and a particularly bad time, and so I sat there for about 15 minutes. I just put my hands on the keyboard because I don't know what else to do with them. And I had you in my heart and on my mind, and maybe you got some benefit from it. Maybe you didn't. I don't know because I don't know.
I will tell you, of course, many people were sending me healing, but
Yeah,
yes, the symptoms I was experiencing disappeared by the next morning. They were
very good.
gone.
Very good.
So anyway, but the You can do anything you can believe you can do.
I believe that.
Okay, just start believing I can do remote healing.
Yeah, right.
So, and I have to tell you also, when you were talking about God saying you're here, you're going to be isolated and all of that, I just got chills all over myself. So yeah,
I think
that was definitely a divine message for you.
I believe that's one of my basic truths. And
Yes.
I haven't shared that with very many people simply because there aren't very many people I can even talk to around here.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's so good about these Facebook groups
Hmm.
that form our safe places. Uh, it's a different way of forming friendships, but we
Very.
are forming very deep friendships. I have my daughter and my son-in-law here, and just a very few other people, but mostly I'm online, and that's how I get to do most of my stuff. And
Yep.
it's I love it. And the friendships that I have made, including you, and that I also think there are certain connections, maybe past life or parallel life or whatever you want to call it, where we were meant to connect soul to soul. Many of the people in this group, I feel that way, and I feel that I was led to do these interviews to further that connection and introduce important people, important spiritual souls to other spiritual souls. So I kind of got off the track there a little bit, but so tell us about the channeling.
I'm interested, obviously, I'm interested in a class that Michael Sheridan runs. I believe it's like 15 weeks. So it's a lengthy class. It's not inexpensive, but it is in depth and it is supposedly the best channeling class to do. And Tucker swears by it. I've heard other people, I've talked to several people that have either been in their programs or knew someone that had, and everybody is just, you can't say anything bad about the Ashland School and Michael and Sandy Sheridan. I've talked to Sandy on the phone. They have basically two major programs. They have the channeling program, then they have a mentorship program. The mentorship program is very expensive, and it runs for a year, and it includes all kinds of stuff, and mostly dream interpretation. I don't know that I mean, I have a real interest in dreams, uh, particularly recently, since maybe April. That's kind of blossomed in me. I don't know that I want to try to learn how to interpret and do that as a business or as a service. Um, Depending upon what shows up and what happens for me, if I stay here in Mexico, I'm comfortable where I am. I don't have a lot of needs. I get by very simply and very easily. If I communicate online, then I can do anything I want to anywhere. But I don't know that that's where I'm supposed to be. I know that's where I have been for the last 3 years, and I believe I was supposed to be here for that, at least for that period. I don't know about anything further. I don't know truly what my life's purpose is. I believe there is one, and I believe there is something that I'm here to do. For the last 2.5 years, I've had a very strong belief that I would be here through this shift that we're going through now. I mean, like I said, I'm 78 years old. I'm not in the best health in the world. Um, but at any rate, I believe that I will be here. I believe that there's a task for me to do, and I want to do it. I just want to get started. Uh,
I understand that. I I will share a little bit about my channeling. first of all, I think I'm too stubborn to go into a lot of classes. But the channeling happened, it started, and I was told in psychic things, psychics and readers and so forth have told me that I would be doing this, and they've told me a lot of this stuff, and I didn't believe it for a long time. But then when I did begin to believe it because something happened that I had to question my disbelief, and they immediately started, something happened in my throat. Something was coming through, and I would gag. But
Mm,
I'd also have a bunch of physical energies through me, and I'd have um, things that happened that I knew there was more than me here.
mm.
and and I saw things, and things just happened. It was really a weird time, but that was probably 14 years ago, 13 years ago that began. No, even less time than that. But so all that stuff was coming on for a while. And then just last year, I actually took a class in channeling, which I'd already been channeling, but I was guided to take this class. Somebody I knew, and it was 5 weeks. But what happened during that time is my life changed because I believed in myself afterwards. And that was probably the biggest hurdle I've had in about any of this stuff that I do, is believing that yes, I actually can do this. Everybody else believes it, but I'm very good at questioning myself, except for light language, because there is no way in the world that I could fake that. Not that I even try to fake anything else, but my mind will
Yeah.
question, am I making this up? When I first started mediumship and reading for people, I kept thinking, am I making this stuff up? And then so many things happened that I didn't know where that information came from, but it resonated with this client that
Mhm.
had just met. I thought, well, my imagination is not good enough that I can make this stuff up. So I'm going to just decide to believe it. And other people have always been moved by it. It's my own ego that will question myself. But light language, that when that comes through, I'm the listener going, boy, that's fast, or that's kind of slow,
Mhm.
or what in the heck is this meaning? But and I don't get translations. I get the feeling. Like the feeling of the light language I did before at the beginning of this was encouragement of basically, this is good, keep doing this. Okay, now that was confirmation. When my phone rings or makes a noise as I'm saying something like that, it's always confirmation. That was my best friend, Scam Likely. So the only person that calls me on the phone. And happened, they actually, instead of, I actually connected the phone. So I just told them that they were my best friend. Well, okay, they'll probably call me more often. But you can channel your, your biggest obstacle is your own belief,
Mhm.
really,
Yeah.
about anything.
Yeah.
So,
I,
and
I
you,
feel like there's a block of some sort, and it's probably like you said, I because of my background and the fact that I did that for 75 years, I'm so used to being in my head. And
yes,
And I know where my heart is. I know how to move to my heart, but it's hard for me to stay up. It bounce back and forth a lot. So it takes a fair amount of concentration for me to stay in the present moment in my heart. I mean, I could do it for 15 minutes, but 20, no. That's kind of where I get tired and there goes a thought and I follow it. No, that's the ego kicking in.
Well, I think,
If I could kill one thing in this world, it would be my ego.
well, you actually need your ego.
No, I don't. I don't need mine.
You need the parts that say that you're lovable. What you don't
Yeah,
need
no,
is the
that's
ego
true.
that says you're wrong,
It's a
or
balance.
you're not good enough. That's the ego that we want to let go of. But I have to have enough ego to think that I can sit here and do interviews and have conversations. But I don't want, and when I'm channeling, that's one thing I do, is I ask my ego to sit to the side and not intervene because you can, when you're channeling or doing any of this work, if your ego jumps in and starts intervening, you're done.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky enough that I can feel when my ego jumps in inappropriately. That's one of the things I can feel what's happening and stuff. I don't always stop it, but I can feel it, you know. So,
I
so
recognize it. I recognize that feeling pretty well after the fact.
right.
I don't know when it happens, but I realize, wait a minute, you're back in your ego. Stop and just halt what you're doing. Clear your mind. Focus on the wall or something. Anything. There's several techniques that I've picked up off of people on YouTube and Facebook and online stuff. That helps, but like I said, it's a long term thing for me. But
And
I
we're
definitely
all,
am interested in channeling.
yeah,
I'm
you'll be fine. You'll be
it,
fine. And again, I will volunteer as a guinea pig anytime.
very good, very good. I know that channeling and hands-on healing work really well together because by channeling, I should be able to contact and speak with your higher self and know exactly what you need and where you need it. You might think, oh, my shoulder, it's killing me. It's killing me. It's really, it's a problem in your back or something
Yeah.
else. And your higher self knows that. In fact, your dreams probably tell you about that, really, but that's another matter. We won't go there.
Do you see yourself as a medical intuitive when you channel?
I don't really have a medical background, so no,
You don't have
I wouldn't have thought that because of my background. And like I said, my background has been mechanical and electrical. I've always said I'm not a people person. I'm a thing person. I can understand things. I can fix things. I can create things, but people, that's another problem. I just I kind of went through
well,
life as a fly on the wall, which is not a good thing. That's been a big problem for me, and that's hard for me to come out of that shell. Uh, and this hasn't helped a whole lot being here in isolation because there's no one that I can sit. I can't go have a cup of coffee with somebody down the street and talk about spiritual things. There anybody that talks about that stuff here that I'm aware of.
that's interesting. I can identify. I live in a retirement a- apartment
Mhm.
kind of thing, and they know that I'm this weird person because I have a sign on my car. But and sometimes they catch me holding on to the trees outside.
Yeah.
And, but it's okay. But yeah, the channeling and the thing is Edgar Casey did not have a medical background.
Right.
So it's your belief
That's not a
system.
requirement.
Yeah, so
See,
maybe you are because you just equated that to
I,
medical.
right. I mean, it's a what you would call a logical assumption, which doesn't always apply in the spiritual world because we're thinking logically. That's back to the ego side, not the heart side. But my email address happens to be at dfwsurgical.com. So anybody sees my emails, oh, well, you must have been in the medical field. No, it's a website that's my brother's that I manage the website for him, and I happen to have an email address there.
I have to tell you, yes, that is an
Yeah.
assumption.
I had
Uh,
I had one person that said, if you'll tell me your date of birth and time of birth, I can tell you a lot of stuff about you. Well, I went and found my birth certificate. It doesn't have a time on it. That's how old I am. But I gave him the date of birth, and he was looking. He said, "Oh, you're a healer. You're a medical healer." I said, "No, no, not really." And as it turns out, he was partially right because I do have a hands-on healing gift. I
well,
need to
that's medical also.
sure.
And we just got confirmation again. Um, if you could choose a spiritual gift other than hands-on healing or channeling, what would it be?
I don't know. Um, I don't feel like I mean, I've never been in a leadership role. I don't feel like I'm a leader of people. I think I'm someone that can sympathize with you. I think I can empathize with you. I think I can share. I can deal with people one on one. I don't know that I could deal with a group of people, mostly because I have not. That I mean, I'm open. I'm willing to do what because I'll be real honest with you. I firmly believe in pre-birth contracts and all that. And I know when I die, when I get to the other side of the veil, I'm gonna wring somebody's neck for putting me here, for putting me here, letting me come here with a plan. And for 75 years, I was not exposed to that plan. So now, and if I live to be 100, I'll have maybe 25% of my total life to develop to concentrate on spirituality and to concentrate on healing or helping. And that's not enough. It should have been more.
Well, I'd like to give you my opinion on that because I didn't embrace my spirituality until I was 65.
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about any of it until I turned 60 and someone said, "Oh, by the way, you have a mission and you're not who you think you are." After 10 years of figuring out who I was. Um, and so what I have come to believe is that because I spent my first 50 years completely asleep, then 10 years of experiencing things that I could not understand, the synchronicities, the miracles, and all that kind of stuff. And then being told that I had to do some things and spending 5 years of, no, not me, I'm nobody. Uh, why would anybody want me to do any of this stuff? So I understand those parts of life, and I can relate then to people who are going to need us, people who are sitting there with in these radical changes and saying, "What in the world is happening? And why is he so happy when I'm so upset?" So you what I believe about leadership is the best way to lead is by your own example. So you are leading, and I have felt like you were a leader in the Facebook groups because you express your very loving, compassionate, wise opinions about that, and so much encouragement and love that comes from just your posts. You're leading me, you're leading all of us just by being you.
Thank you.
So, and I have been a leader. I have been in management, and I've watched other leaders. And what I know about myself is that I'm a good leader because I let other people shine. And you are letting other people shine
Yeah.
just by your encouragement. So, but you don't
It,
have to be a leader because
it's really
everything is your choice.
it's really interesting. You bring up Facebook and social media like that again. Excuse me. I've noticed that in the last year and a half, my personal Facebook page has started to get a little bit more woo woo than than I would have thought that I would get away with. But I just post stuff. If something resonates with me, I'm going to share it. I don't care. I no longer care. In fact, I probably never
Good.
did. I probably never did care really. But my son, who lives here in Cabo with in the same group of buildings that I live in, he says, Dad, and he's like 55 or 56. I can't remember how old he is. The old guy. He's retired. That's how old he is. He has grown kids. He has a grandchild. So that's how old he is. Age is just a number, right? Anyway,
Right.
he said, Dad, why are you posting all this stuff on Facebook? And I said, Rod, his name is Rodney also. I said, Rod, what bothers you about those posts? And he looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, they're just words. What do you mean? I said, they're just words. Which of those words bother you and why?
Good question.
He said, okay. And he never brought it up again.
Well,
But
he's thinking about it.
hopefully,
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully, I just consider that a little seed that I planted, if that's
My
what I'm supposed to do.
children did not grow up with this weird woman that I am now.
Neither did mine.
And so when it first started happening, um, I they well, it's not completely acceptable at this point. My daughter and my son-in-law have radically changed in the last few years, and now we can talk about all of it. And
Very good.
I really appreciate that. In fact, I have to tell my daughter this. She may see this, uh, but I had a little cut on the bottom of my foot that had been, I was planning on going to the doctor today. That's how much it bothered me. Yesterday, she changed I have a Band-Aid kind of thing on it, and she changed it, and she sort of rubbed on my foot. Today, my foot is healed.
Mhm.
And so I just told her husband, I think Angie healed my foot. So I'm going to tell her that, but
That's good.
you heard it first.
Very good. Very good.
But
Well, me and all the other thousands of people that'll watch this video.
the biggest number of views I got on any of the 60-ish videos that I have is 212 or something like that.
Mm,
And I think that was bots. I think that because it was like, what in the world? And it just blew up overnight. So I just think that was bots.
mm.
But I what whoever we reach is who we're supposed to reach. And that's the only thing
Right.
I care about. I do not monetize anything. And I only charge if people come to me and say, would you do a reading for me, or would you do that for me, or whatever. Everything else I just give away. So
Yeah.
that's fine because the universe has taken care of me for all these few years. I made the agreement. All right, universe, if you want me to do this stuff, because it's kind of weird, then you got to support me. You got to make it easy for me. You got to facilitate it. And that's what they have done. So
It's only weird when you think it's weird.
I
See,
think
I,
weird
I
is a
don't think it's
compliment.
weird when you do it. I don't think Latin language is weird.
Uh, well, my definition of weird is kind of a compliment to me. So I need to change the wording there, but I did when it first started happening. Weird meant weird,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm
It's
sitting
different.
here and all these things are happening, and wow, I never expected. I was an accountant for 42 years.
Yeah.
So
Like I
not
said,
in my house.
my background has been software and engineering and electronics and everything in the world to do with things, but nothing to do with people. And so now, the last 3 years, it's totally shifted. I think I'm still reacting to that as my
Sure.
old self in my old way. I haven't come completely out of that, and I'm assuming there will be because spirit has a way of doing that for you or to you. Yeah, not for you, but to
With you.
you, with you. Okay, I'll go with that. Something will come up. Yeah,
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. So with that, that's a nice little segue into the last question, which is what will you offer to the world from now on?
my heart.
Oh man, that is the best answer that could have been given.
That's all I have.
It's, but it's everything. It's everything. And I will tell you that that giving of your heart shows through in the communications that you have shared on Facebook. And in this interview, uh, I will ask if there's anything else that you would like to share, anything that you think would be helpful or important or interesting or not interesting, but you just want to share it.
Well, like I said, I don't. When we first began, I don't really have an agenda, so I don't have like a list. Um, one of the things when you were talking just now, one of the things that came to my mind when you asked me what would I offer, what would I give, and one of my favorite verses from the Bible came to mind, and this is where Jesus was talking, and he said to a beggar, "I believe silver and gold have I none, but forget how, well, but such that I have, I will give you freely." So that's me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I want to thank you on that note because I'm about to cry. And
Good,
and
I got
I
us both going.
yeah, and I will just thank you for your time and your authenticity. And I got to put my glasses on so I can see the button to push here. But we will,
Namaste.
my love to everyone who finds us.